All right. Good morning, Chair. This is Dustin. All the board members and attendees are present and accounted for. Lobby is open and recording has begun.
Great. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. We'll call to order the Washington Liquor and Cannabis Board Caucus meeting for Tuesday, August 17th, 2021. I'm David Postman, the board chair. With me are members Russ Hauge and Ollie Garrett. The first item on our agenda today is approval of the minutes from the August 3rd, 2021 board caucus. Is there a motion to approve that?
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Great.
This is Ollie. I second.
Great, and then those are approved. Thank you. And now we're going to hear from Nicola Reed, our Compliance and Adjudications Manager, about the board interim policy revision related to frozen alcohol.
Hi, and I apologize. My team is freezing right now for 1 second. Is there any way I could go second? I think
Yes.
It's about to bump me out.
Sure, that's not a problem at all. We can move to the general board meeting prep and rules updates. We'll come back to you, Nicola, okay?
Thank you so much.
Yes, good luck. Kathy, I'm assuming that'll be okay. Kathy Hoffman, could we move to meeting prep and rules updates from your team?
Yep, that's fine. We're ready to go.
Great, let's do that then.
All right, thanks, Chair Postman, and good morning, board members Garrett and Hauge. I'll give a brief update on what's happening with our THC compound rules, and then kick it over to Jeff for general cannabis rulemaking update, and then Audrey. So just briefly, we do have a draft conceptual set of rules ready for internal review. That's going to happen next Monday. And then I will send out messaging about a listen and learn session for our general public and other interested parties, probably towards the middle of next week. So we're making great progress on that and looking forward to continuing that work. Any questions? And then I'll. Yeah.
No, thanks.
So Jeff, on to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Good morning, Chair Postman and board members Garrett and Hauge. Here's a brief update on cannabis rules and progress today. Starting with the cannabis quality control rules, we have finalized the contract for the small business economic impact statement with Araya, and we have a scheduled kickoff meeting with the vendor on August 19th. And with respect to criminal history background check redesign, no comments have been received to date on the CR 102 we brought to you for approval on July 7th. And the public hearing on the proposed rules is scheduled for tomorrow, August 18th. And this concludes my update for today. May I answer any questions?
Great. No questions for me. I see none. Thanks, Mr. Gildall. Appreciate that. We'll see if we hear any comment tomorrow at the public hearing.
Thank you, Chair Postman.
See you then. Hello, Audrey Vasek from the alcohol side.
Good morning, Chair Postman, board members Garrett and Hauge. So I just have a couple brief updates today on the alcohol rulemaking timelines. So first, for the project to implement 2021 legislation, House Bill 1480, related to extending some COVID-19 alcohol allowances, a virtual listen and learn session was held a couple weeks ago now on August 5th on the alcohol to go endorsement portion of the conceptual draft rules. At a peak, there were around 60 people in attendance, and the 2.5-hour recording of the event is available on the rulemaking webpage. I am currently working on compiling the public feedback into a comment table and analyzing it by theme. And the internal rule drafting work group will meet next week to review the feedback and comments received and consider any changes to the conceptual draft rules. We're also planning a second listen and learn session on the portion of the conceptual draft rules related to outdoor alcohol service areas and food service menu requirement changes. We anticipate scheduling this in early September, and an email with information about the event and how to attend should probably be sent to GovDelivery subscribers later this week. We're currently on track to have a CR 102 or rule proposal package ready for the board to consider in late September. On the horizon, I'm also beginning to plan for a new rulemaking project related to axe throwing at liquor licensed premises. So for background, axe throwing has become popular as an activity that liquor license businesses would like to offer to their customers. And beginning in 2018, the licensing division started receiving applications from businesses that either wanted to add axe throwing or had axe throwing as their primary activity and wanted to add liquor services. In April 2021, the board approved a settlement agreement allowing a specific axe throwing business to have a liquor license for 1 year with certain parameters in place. And since axe throwing at a liquor license premises is considered a high-risk activity with implications for public safety, rulemaking might be needed to mitigate some of those safety concerns and maintain public safety at liquor license premises that are allowed to have axe throwing. So I've held a preliminary meeting with licensing division staff last week to begin planning for this project, and a kickoff meeting with a larger internal rule project team, including staff from across multiple agency divisions, is scheduled for early September to begin looking at the scope of that project, potential timeline, and next steps. So I anticipate possibly bringing a CR 101 for the board to consider in late September or early October. So that concludes my rulemaking updates for today, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any board questions for Ms. Vasek on this today? I've got two maybe quick ones. One on the COVID allowance, on the outdoor service piece. Have you heard anything? Have you had any engagement from local officials, cities, talking about what their preference would be, whether to continue or not, or concerns?
I've had informal discussions with some folks from City of Seattle and some industry groups, but we're hoping that with the listen and learn, we'll be able to draw in kind of more broadly anyone who's interested in those, and hopefully local governments will chime in there too.
Yeah, I hope so. I'd be interested to hear where they're at. And then on axe throwing, so when we did the settlement in April, it was my understanding that if others wanted to try to do the same thing, they could, if they met all the requirements that had been laid out in April, they would. Was there something that then spurred the formal rulemaking? Was there a petition or other requests that we're responding to?
There's been no rulemaking petition. This has been an internal, request from the licensing division to start looking at rulemaking beyond that one business that was approved through that settlement.
Okay. All right. Good. I'll be curious to learn more. Thank you. Appreciate your report today. Thanks, Ms. Vasek. And I think I saw Nicola Reed pop up again, and there we are. Great. To talk about the revising the board interim policy on frozen alcohol from last year. So go ahead, Ms. Reed, it's all yours.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Postman, Board Member Garrett and Hauge. So Board Interim Policy 1-220, which is on alcohol frozen products, after a reevaluation, so this board interim policy was initially approved back in 2020. And after a reevaluation of the policy, it was determined that a couple of changes were needed to support free expression and also to provide some clarity within the policy itself. And so we did a revision of really, the only thing we did is we added a rule when we spoke about the need to have prior board approval before selling the products within Washington state. And then we struck two of the bullet points that spoke to an area of what we consider when reviewing the packaging in its entirety. So this revision, also our AGs were involved in this, and so they have had the opportunity to review and give their blessings. And so that is really, it's a pretty small change. And so, yeah, do you have any questions from me?
Any questions? Member Hauge, yes.
Thank you. Nicola, I just want to make sure I understand. What we're doing here is part of if I could call it a trend, that might be too strong of a word, but this is kind of rationalizing and liberalizing this rule to give licensing a little more discretion to approve.
So really, essentially, no product can be especially appealing to youth. And so one of the statements on there is that we would review to ensure it did not allude to fun. Well, that's a really hard statement, but really, even with the striking of that language and the other bullet point, everything's in there. We still will get to the same place of it being either especially appealing to youth or not being. And so having that language in there just became a little more complicated. And so it's really just to provide some clarity also moving forward for us who are reviewing the packaging.
Well, what I note is in the supporting documents, you talk about how 44 other states were a little bit more liberal in what they would approve in this field. And I just want to ensure, my impression is that this is meant to get us more in line with the general trend and not be so doctrinaire in our approval process.
Well, we have many types of the products now in the market. All of the big retail chains are selling them. So we have definitely got a wide variety of products that are sold in other states. There was only, I think, a couple that had to make some revisions. So I think the board interim policy overall does give us the ability to review the product in its entirety and not just consider the product type and that type of thing. So we have quite a few licensees that now sell their products within our state. So yes, we're more aligned with the other states that way.
Thank you.
But that now raises a question for me. But I think that, removing things like trying to require licensing to define what fun is difficult. And so I think, I read this as just sort of get rid of some of the complications around analyzing what this board interim policy was meant to be. But I don't get the sense that we're expecting to see more labeling with cartoons or anything like that, right? This is not a move to try to liberalize that part. It's to have I think, an easier to understand policy, hopefully, and a consistency that licensees would see. Is that?
It is. And
fair?
So maybe I missed a little bit. So the initial policy really did give us that freedom to review the packaging in its entirety and not just consider this a popsicle or something. And so we have been able to get quite a few of the products out in the market. But you're correct that the revision is really to take away some language that's pretty arbitrary and hard to determine, but then also some language that may be infringing a little bit on the expression of packaging. But you can't have cartoons, you can't have like different types of things that would be appealing, like that look similar to other products that are generally marketed to youth. So there's still a lot of guidelines in there that help us so we can have the product in the market safely, but still have it available for consumers within Washington.
Okay. Because some of the things we removed was, in addition to the one about alluding to fun, was, right, we're deleting the part that says that you can't include sayings, terms, or slogans that are commonly used to market products that might be appealing to children or people under 21, right? That's going to be gone from the new policy, but we still have enough around there where it says no cartoons, no bubble type font, those things, right? So we're not
Right.
tying our hands too much here.
No, we're definitely not. And we were able to keep the does not contain a design or brand or name that is generally marketed to youth or those under the age of 21. No cartoons, bubble type font. So we feel like with what is left, it really is what we were utilizing in our review process. So hopefully this will simplify it a bit and then make it a little more clear for the stakeholders and licensees.
All right, good. Okay. If there's no other questions, then we need to approve this policy revision. Is there a motion to accept the recommendation on to revise board interim policy 01-2020 on frozen alcohol?
This is Ali. I move that we approve the board interim on 2020 frozen alcohol.
And this is Russ Hauge, second.
Great, and then that is approved. Thank you, Ms. Reed. Appreciate the presentation. That takes us to our last item, which would just be board member and executive assistant reports. I'll check with Dustin first. Dustin, anything to share today?
Good morning, Chair and board members. Appreciate the opportunity. Just a friendly reminder as we continue to progress in this virtual environment, and we post all of our recordings online now on our website. If you don't look there, they just as a reminder, they're also on youtube.com. Go to /WSLCB. And if you click on the tab called playlists, Brian Smith and the communications department have done a good job of kind of aligning and organizing some of the videos that were already on there and making room for those that are coming up. Audrey's rulemaking listen and learn, I believe that she had recently on House Bill 1480 is on there under a category called rulemaking activity. Enforcement had some videos that were on there previously, so they're under an enforcement tab. And then all of our public board meetings, so caucus board meetings and EMT, are now listed under LCB board activity. So it's just another place to find the work that we're doing. Since early July, we've been able to post all these things, including the new rulemaking activity. So
cool.
Yeah,
great.
Making
Thank
progress.
You. Appreciate that. Yeah, thank you. It's going well. Member Hauge or Member Garrett, anything to report or share today?
Not for me.
Nothing. Okay, and nothing from me. Okay, thank you all for the work today, and we will see many of you tomorrow for the board meeting, and our board caucus for the 17th is now adjourned. Have a great day.